When I first talk to agency owners, sometimes they question, one of the first things they ask is, who would buy my agency? What type of buyers are there out there? Who would buy it? Who's out there? Like I think they think that there's hardly anybody, is what they think, that would
Mm-hmm.
buy an agency. And that's not true. That's not true. I've had 50, I've had 100 leads for one agency I've tried to sell. And
Wow.
so I mean, there's a lot of people buying out there. So today I've compiled the 6 buyer personas of who would buy your agency. And what you'll find without me involved is that agency life is different. It is fast, it is a
Yeah.
heavy people business, and the financials are not the same. And be prepared for that. So you better have a good reason why you want an agency, because
Yep.
you're gonna get landslided here and not expect it. So I love entrepreneurs, but when you go to buy an agency, I put this under the temperature of dangerous buyer.
Yeah.
They're not the most dangerous. That was the dreamer. This one's the next one up, which is dangerous buyer, because you're unfamiliar with this territory. The current
Yes.
agency owner is my favorite buyer. I put him as his temperature is he's a great buyer. And the reason why is because they already have all the formulas cooked.
Mm.
By the time he or she is qualified, has the money in the bank, they've been profitable, they know how to make money out of the agency world. The processes are good, the people are good, their systems are good, their clients are good. They put money in the bank and they can prove it enough to get a loan to buy and acquire another agency to attach onto their current business model or structure, or as a need their current clientele has. They can go and buy your agency to complete and solve problems, or if nothing else at the end of the day, to simply acquire business through acquisition versus having to go out, hunt it and kill it and find it and bring it into their agency.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to another edition of the Growth Engine with Ryan and Trice. Been a long time, Ryan. How's things going? How
It's
are
been
you?
going good, man. I know that last episode we did was, talking about, how to get a loan and how to buy an agency, right? So today is going to be fun because we're just continuing in that buying and selling agency space. So I'm looking
Yes.
forward to today's episode.
Yeah, I love your notes so far. I was looking at them and I was just laughing because I was just like, I'm so I'm sure this is exactly how they really are. The people that think about this, and people like me or entrepreneurs or whoever it may be, as they think about getting into agency business,
Yeah.
they 100% fall into these categories. So let's jump into it.
Yeah. Well, what I've got today is I've got 6 personas, basically 6 profiles of buyers. So when I first talk to agency owners, sometimes they question, one of the first things they ask is, who would buy my agency? What type of buyers are there out there? Who would buy it? Who's out there? Like I think they think that there's hardly anybody, is what they think,
Mm.
that would
Hmm.
buy an agency. And that's not true. That's not true. I've had 50, I've had 100 leads for one agency I've tried to sell. And
Wow.
so I mean, there's a lot of people buying out there. So today I've compiled the 6 buyer personas of who would buy your agency.
Love it.
All
Love
right,
it.
well, let's get started right out of the gates with the Motley Crue theme that I sang before we started recording. We have the dreamer. Yeah, the dreamer.
Yes.
Yeah, with the heart of gold. Okay, so um the dreamer is the person that wants to buy an agency. They've dreamed of owning a business, owning their own business, right? And I did scale these from the least likely to buy your business to the most likely to buy your business. Okay.
Mm.
So they
Yeah.
are in order. So we're starting with the ones that they show up when you go to sell your agency, and you need to be aware of this. So they dream to own, they have all kinds of options, right? And so for them, they're just wanting to fit one that fits their lifestyle, that gives them some of the money they're looking for. And really, they're so far away from really understanding what they're buying. This is a long haul. This is a tough
Yeah.
uphill battle, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think about dreamers like, I'll let you go into the pros and cons, but I think about this group
yep,
like, they're probably the least qualified people because they like the idea. It's a lifestyle choice, right? They like the
right.
idea of buying something, and marketing agency or advertising or creative or whatever sort of category you fit into sounds cool, and that's the lifestyle piece that they attracts them to it. But they're like, they don't have any of the background, they don't have any of the skill sets, and maybe they think of themselves as great leaders. I think of I hate to say this, but I think of alpha males like this all the time. So I'm sort of like, well, you think you're something, but you haven't done anything. So you're like, you don't have any context. And these dreamers are like that to me. They're just like people
Well,
who think of themselves as great entrepreneurs, but they haven't done it yet.
yeah, I mean, they have so many things that go against them from the very start on this. And they probably, they've been working with another industry, right? And so they see this as just another industry or job.
Mm.
And what they don't understand is no other industry, no other space moves as quickly as the marketing space. It even moves faster than the web development space. It is lightning fast with a lot of changing moving parts every day. And you could argue every hour and minute. And so I don't think that a lot of people understand the pace that it takes to do this and the variety of skill sets that you have to have on board. You
Yeah.
have to have a left and right brain firing. You have to be good at math. You have to understand some creative and branding. And there's just so many things that you have to learn. And can you learn it? Well, anybody can. I did, right? But you're not going to be good at it for a long time if you
Yeah.
don't have a marketing background. So the pros are, and it was hard to come up with a pro on this one. The pro is they're excited to own a business, and I love energy and excitement. That's
Yeah.
that's the pro.
That's
The
it.
the cons are they don't know what they're up against. It's the speed of it, it's the knowledge, it's can you sell? Every business owner in my mind should be able to sell. Some will disagree with that, but if you're actually working in the business, you better be able to sell. And it's just too steep of a climb for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I look at people like this, like maybe first home buyers or people who need a lot of hand holding, right? For
Mhm.
you, the broker or the seller, this is a nightmare because
Oh, no.
they don't even, financial statements, they may not even know what they're looking at, right? And I'm there's some piece of it they're probably, you know, like you said, uphill climbing, but this is an aspirational group of people, and they're probably going to take a lot of hand holding, and
Yeah.
they'll ask a ton of questions and just be a general, like, really difficult, sell to close on
Mhm.
buying your business.
It
And
takes so long to get them there.
yeah,
These
it
are
just,
these are your 6 to 12 month
yeah,
engagements, and most of
yeah,
the time, like, I mean, I'm going to go high, like
yeah,
95+% of the time, they will never buy this
yeah,
agency,
yeah.
and
Well,
so
and they're going to get sticker shock most likely. They're going to be the kind of people that are like, "Whoa, I did not expect this to be 5x. I
yeah,
expected it to be 2x." And you're like, "Well, it's priced it this way for this reason," and then they spiral on that for a while. But yes, okay. And
yeah,
the thing I do really like about your list is the as you get further into this group, they become more financial in nature, and
yes,
it's their second nature to speak that language. So like
yes.
all that financial stuff will take care of itself. They will say yes or no on a lot of it by that, and
I'm glad.
and
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
glad you're
and
bringing that up because that's a scale.
yeah,
And you're right. The more I go down the list, the more they understand financials.
yeah,
But there's a buyer in here that it's a real negative, and that means
mm,
there's so much into the financials they can't see the business for what it is.
yeah,
They can't
yeah,
see the value. And so the thing that I would say about that is relevant for this last one is with the dreamer, you have to have an expertise in something. You have to have a passion in something, is my advice to you, before you're going to go in and buy a business and make it successful. Do not just wing it and throw yourself into something you're not familiar with. It'll
yes.
be a disaster. You will regret it.
Mm.
So
Okay.
That's my advice in there. I put a buying temperature on each one of these, and this one I quoted as quote very dangerous buyer, very
Yeah.
dangerous. Could
Yeah.
be a huge waste of everybody's time. So
Yeah. The time waster. That's yeah.
that
Yeah.
should have
I
been the
would have.
name, time
Yeah.
waster.
Dreamer slash
It's
time
time
waster.
waster. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love those people. I love your energy.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna find something somewhere
Yep.
for sure,
Yep.
but it's not
You're
gonna be
gonna
this.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So the next one, let's go
Yeah.
to the next one. The next one is the entrepreneur.
Mm,
The entrepreneur.
yeah.
God, love them. I'm around entrepreneurs every day.
Yes,
So
you are. You really
um,
are.
visionaries, entrepreneurs, and here's the description of this one is they they have owned a business before. They have been
Hmm.
successful. And they know business. They know business growth.
Yeah.
Um, so so these guys they're great. I love them. These are the guys I love pulling up, having a beer with, and having conversations with. But when it comes time to go into the agency space, it moves so many pieces for them based on their first business ownership experience, or even the first two or three. It moves so many things that they're comfortable with, in order to make an agency successful. That it is extremely uncomfortable to the entrepreneur to buy an agency.
Yeah.
The entrepreneur, they like process, and agencies can be very process driven. But the piece they're not really expecting is the heavy labor side of this. So even when they're looking at the financials, they're seeing high labor, and they're like, "Oh, that's too high." Well, they're not selling product.
Right.
They're selling a lot of times custom stuff, or solutions and strategies,
Or services.
and
Yep.
even the builds of the websites are custom sometimes. So like, they're very uncomfortable with that piece of it, is that
Yep.
they can't quite wrap their head and hands around. They can't get their hands on this, how this works. It's very challenging for the entrepreneur. And so the pro is they understand how to run and operate and lead a business in general, right?
Hmm.
Even myself, I had massive experience in business before I owned my own agency, and it helped a lot, but it did not prepare me for the agency world. It didn't. And I've talked to so many entrepreneurs that want to argue this point to the I don't care if you want to argue with me. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. You're the one that's got to deal with it if you buy the agency and you're this persona, you know. And what you'll find without me involved is that agency life is different. It is fast, it is a
Yeah.
heavy people business, and the financials are not the same. And be prepared for that. So you better have a good reason why you want an agency, because
Yep.
you're gonna get landslided here and not expect it. So I love entrepreneurs, but when you go to buy an agency, I put this under the temperature of dangerous buyer.
Yeah.
They're not the most dangerous. That was the dreamer. This one's the next one up, which is dangerous buyer, because you're unfamiliar with this territory.
Yeah. I love the way you describe this and that you categorize them as a dangerous buyer. And um, to me, this is a group that if they're really strong entrepreneurs who've never been involved in marketing, they're really fit into this group versus maybe somebody like you who's a marketer entrepreneur blend of people who maybe can overcome some of these kinds of cons and because they understand the industry a little differently. I think you said something really, really important for people. This is a people business, and entrepreneurs like transactional businesses, right?
Yes.
They have a lot
Yep.
of process, and the people part of their business is transactional. They're going out and doing things. And I would say if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for opportunities, steer away from agencies because they're culture driven people organizations. So,
Mhm.
and most entrepreneurs, unless they think of themselves as influencer leaders types of style, this isn't going to be a good fit for them. They're going to really hate the fact that there's not a transaction that happens that you bill and you move on to the next transaction and you churn, and because that's the way most operators
Yeah.
want to be, and this is not like that at all.
Yeah. And because I
And
love you, entrepreneurs, you're
yeah,
going to be very frustrated with that.
yeah,
Very frustrated with what you just
I'm
said.
telling you as a marketer, my advice to you is steer clear. Go buy a transactional business of some type,
Yes.
home services or whatever it may be, because that is perfect for you.
Right.
And it's people to traction and getting things done, and not people to culture, which is what agencies are more like. And so I totally agree with you in that. And I think this group of people can really be successful. But this is not their best situation.
It's not their best fit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not. Yeah.
I did talk to somebody recently who fit this entrepreneur recently, as in like 2 hours ago, who this is them. They're the entrepreneur.
Yep.
And they said, but I had a marketing department of 20 people in my business. And I had a marketing department, corporate business, and I had a marketing department. So, and I had a VP of marketing who reported to me.
Mm-hmm.
That helps. It helps.
Context. Yeah.
You are not, everything we just said still applies.
Yeah. 100%.
Everything we said still applies.
100%. Yeah. And the reason I say that to people is we have on this show argued about marketing's place in business, right?
Yeah.
And as a CMO, there's a ton of research out there about why CMO tenure is so short. But I'll say, if you're the CEO of a company and you think you get marketing, you're the problem, right? So you fall into this category and you think the reason you're qualified is because you had people reporting to you that were in marketing. You don't see the problem. You're gonna struggle to get it out of your own way, and to hire people to operate this business for you that do understand, right? And so you're better off just go do something else. I mean, there are plenty of opportunities out there for you if you're in a cash flow situation and you can afford to buy a business. I'm excited for you. Just don't do it here, because it's gonna really burn you in both ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is good. Like, I mean, because this is reality stuff.
This is
and the difference between
we've both seen these people, like all this whole list. So
well, the difference between that guy who had a business that had a VP of marketing reporting to them, and maybe had a marketing department, is the way you're making money isn't the marketing department. The way you're making money is the service or the product that you're selling.
Yeah.
That's how you're making your money. That marketing department isn't your profit center. At an agency, your marketing department is your profit center.
Yeah.
Turning a profit with those marketing people is a much different scenario that you don't understand yet. And you will if you go to buy one too quickly. So anyway, we are going to move the next one. So we are on our number 3, moving right along. This one's called The Investor. The Investor.
There's a lot of these.
There's a lot of investors out there, right?
Yeah.
They have a lot of money. They're frugal with it, so they don't buy quickly. They are strong financial people. Yep. They will invest, but they are going to look at acquisition through the accounting lens. They're going to look at it through acquisition ROI. They're going to look at it strongly through this numbers side of things, which is frustrating to the agencies selling, because they know good and well that whatever the reports and numbers show, it's hard to understand if you're only looking at through that accounting lens. Accountants get nervous with agencies. I'm just going to say it. Accountants are nervous with the
people problem again.
Because it's strong people. It's not widgets. Okay. It's not a dentist's office where you don't have a certain amount of patients every day coming in.
It's not transactional.
Yeah. It's so the investor doesn't move quickly on agency acquisitions, and honestly rarely buys one. The investor can invest in a lot of things, and so they're comparing with other things like HVAC and plumbing and things that have high margin, and so they are looking at an agency, and they're like, well, I've looked at other financials and this isn't measuring up. It's like, that's right. Your labor doesn't look like labor in other companies. Your receivables are moving faster and all over the place, and you're not comfortable with that. And that is somewhat true with most marketing agencies. It depends on whether or not you get your money up front before the work or afterwards. Hope that's my little tip there for the day, is get it up front. That
recurring revenue, monthly revenue. Yes.
Charge at the beginning of the month before you do one damn thing.
100%.
The investor. the pro, or they're great with money, finances, business acumen.
Mm,
Um, and so they're great with that. People trust them. They're a very conservative voice.
yeah.
Marketing agency people by nature are not conservative people. They're risk takers. They
Yeah.
they are not in that realm. They're creative thinkers. They're visionaries,
Yep.
and so they are very different from the investor. And that's why they're so far apart when it comes to making an acquisition and a deal go through.
Yeah.
The cons with the investor is they don't understand like the value, how to value an agency. They don't understand how to value
Mhm.
it or
Yep.
see the value in an agency often. And so uh they can't get that talk, they can't get the deal made, and those things just
Yep.
conflict all the way through from the very beginning to the end. And my temperature on this one, the category is not a preferred buyer.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
does
This is,
happen, it's just
yep.
not preferred.
Yeah. This is very like, it's a 3 on a scale from 1 to 5, right? You're right in the middle because you're like, well,
Maybe a
it
two to
could
two
be
and a half,
good.
maybe
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
two and a half.
Yeah. It could be good, but
Yeah.
it really depends on the investor. And I'll say this, like, you're right. The business acumen is perfect because they think of it like a business, but it's tough because, again, like entrepreneurs, the people side is confusing. The culture, being how important the culture is confusing. It's because culture in agencies is really important to employees and
Mhm.
really important to clients, because that brand cachet carries so much weight in decision makers, because I'm the decision maker, a CMO. I'm the one that says this is the right kind of partner for us. They got a great cultural fit with us. They got the great expertise. They can move fast. All
Mhm.
the good things, right? We're really going to have a good rapport with them. So,
I tell you what,
that's the whole point.
I tell
And
you, the investor, here's a great opportunity for the investor. The investor already has other businesses.
yeah,
They're outsourcing marketing to another agency, and when they put it all together,
exactly
it's
right.
way more than if they just
Yeah.
bought their own agency and ran
I
it.
was I was thinking about that when we were talking about
Works great,
entrepreneurs.
and on you think that would happen more often than it does.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that they start to see that they can start their own agency sometimes as easy or for a lot less money, and I think
Yeah.
that's why they bail.
You see this a lot now with um, entrepreneurs and investors who are becoming influencers, and they
Mhm.
create media companies and agencies to work on their behalf, because they're like, hey, I'm a visionary leader,
Mhm.
um, and I need a whole arm of people that just do this work for me or for my other businesses.
Mhm.
If I got more than 3 or 4, I, I got a pretty substantial group of marketing, that need initiatives
Right.
that need to take place. Why not own the group that does the work? I
Right.
100% love that,
Right.
but you better hire a leader for the marketing team, because it cannot be you.
Exactly. Or
You're the client.
it'll fall.
Yeah, 100%.
It'll go south on your investment will be worth nothing when you're
Yeah,
said and done.
if you're the
Great advice.
investor, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're the investor, that's the thing to take away from this is
Yeah.
stay in your lane as far as all your other businesses, because you really understand them, and then hire a great marketing agency leader to
Hmm.
operate as an operator in that space,
Hmm.
because you're the client and you want to be treated like the client, and you want to pay like the client, but you just want the benefit of that profitability coming to you at the end. It's a great partnership, but you have the right operator in that marketing space to be able to do it.
Love that. Let's
Yeah,
wrap that one up. Let's go to the
yeah,
next one, which I think you
yeah.
will like because
Good. This is my favorite one. Okay, of
it's
course,
you.
it's me,
This is quote the marketing leader. The
quote unquote.
marketing leader.
Right.
So the marketing leader, they have worked in an agency. Sometimes it's a corporate marketing environment.
Yep.
Most of the time, not. We'll talk about that in a second. But the marketing leader is a proven marketing leader. They understand marketing, no doubt. Like they've ran teams. They understand how to put stuff in the production funnel and spit it out, and they've been accountable for results to some degree.
Yeah. Yep.
These are great people. I've been one of it, been in this position, work next to these positions, love these people, they're my tribe, right? They're your tribe. You run a
Sure.
CMO group, they're your tribe.
Yep.
Um, and Here's the thing: if they come from an agency, they tend to really already have that service mind to them of
Mm-hmm.
servicing multiple clients, and so they're kind of used to that thing. Here's what's different about the CMO working in the corporate world that's coming out of the corporate world thinking they might buy an agency versus coming from the agency. Most of the time, the corporate one never goes through.
Yeah,
It's something they've thought about.
I can see that.
The reason why is because corporate marketing leaders they get very comfortable with the corporate support, the health insurance, the stability of it. They can drop the ball, they can make mistakes, they still have a job and it doesn't change your paycheck. Like there's a certain level of comfort that comes with this role.
Yeah,
Yeah, you capped with creativity, and yeah, the CEO stops listening to you after a while. Like I get it. Like I've been there, right? All
yeah,
those negatives come into play, but I get it. But the leap to do it is
yeah,
usually not in that person's comfort zone.
yeah.
And so
There's a
the
lot of risk
agency,
there,
yeah, where
and
the agency leader,
corporate type people don't have the same kind of financial risk as an owner that
yeah,
even an agency person would have. Yeah,
most of the time they're taking a step back in pay when they do this, by the way.
probably.
They're getting
Yeah,
paid because of what I said earlier, where the business you're working in, they're making money not through marketing support. They're making money through other services usually. And so
100%.
it's not it's just not a requirement.
Yep.
But the agency guy is different. Agency person that comes in and they're going to buy an agency, they are so close to what the agency is requiring when you take it over and acquire it that it's like taking a step out of one door and walking across the hall and stepping in another. It
Yeah.
doesn't change their pace, their speed, the way they're doing it, things. They are very comfortable. They're right next to all the successful processes and things, or they know what they like and don't like, and they can think they can do it better. So, by the way, this is the people who bought. I got two people who bought my agency. One was great because he had a sales background and knew how to go out and get clients and worked in social media sales and things like that. The other one came out of the agency world as a marketing leader in a big agency
Mm.
and running teams. And I'm like, you guys are fantastic. So I would put the buyers who bought my agency in this marketing leader category. And that's why I felt like they were the right buyers and I felt comfortable with them. So I put on there the temperament of this is that they can be a good buyer. The right ones can be a good buyer. And
Yeah.
so now we're warming up to ones that feel better, right?
Yeah.
They
Absolutely.
understand marketing and how to get results is the pro. The cons are um, they don't know what they don't know. A
Yeah.
marketing leader doesn't mean you know how to run a business and all the different pieces that you didn't expect that hit you, or kind of a rude awakening sometimes.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
they're like, oh my gosh, I got in to be a marketing person and do the same thing I was doing at the agency, but now I'm actually running a business and I've got all this other stuff that kind of came
Yes.
along with it.
Yeah. I was going to say my big caveats here. My video is lagging, but my big caveats on this group were they can be a really good buyer, but you're right. The business acumen that is needed, and corporate guys are going to think they've got it because they're in a corporate environment. They look at P&Ls,
It's not
and
small
agency
agency,
guy,
small business though,
it's
right?
not the same kind of thing.
Nope.
And then agency guys who don't see any of that stuff, and so probably the big gap there is the business side, but you're exactly right. The way you've also put it is they don't know what they don't know. The people management, benefits, HR parts are no matter how senior of a person you are, if you're not responsible for making those decisions for an entire company of people, it's a different thing. And you're like, these are people's livelihoods now. It's not just whether somebody's hired or fired, but am I offering the right shit, all the things. So, and also just so for all of you people that fit into these other groups, just so you know, um, agencies have a tendency to be the kinds of businesses that offer a lot of benefits. And the reason is they don't necessarily pay exceptionally well. They're okay, but they have to offer a lot of benefits because the pool of talent in any city is incredibly tight. There's a lot of opportunity to go work for different agencies,
Mm-hmm.
and benefits is and the type of client you work with is typically the deal breaker. And people are like, hey, I can move up here, I can get a little more money, I get a promotion, the benefits are really, really good, the culture's fantastic, I'm moving. And so versus corporate,
Mhm.
the benefits are way better, frankly. So
Yeah,
yeah, so
no doubt.
like if you're a marketing leader, there's a lot of those kinds of business decisions that have to get made. Those are expensive at times as well. This can be agencies can be a very good margin kind of business, but that's the kind of stuff that eats on it, and it's incredibly important for your talent pool. So you kind of have to do it, and um, the business acumen of understanding that and the cultural acumen of living in an agency and knowing that's what it's like, very valuable, and not necessarily something that everybody brings to the table. So,
Yep. Yep.
yep, cool. All
Oh,
right,
no, yeah, I I want to go to this next one.
yeah.
Um, I was just thinking about how to
Well, I'll tell you because I worked for
structure
this kind of
this.
company, right? So, Ryan likes to call this group the agency roll up, the private equity firm. That what's out there in the world today, and there's a couple that are really really big. They own their entire business as being a portfolio company. They're private equity owned, and they own a bunch of agencies. And their model is to have uh, five of every kind of type of agency that there might be, and get the margin off all of them.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you want to go into the detail about the
Thank
pros and
you.
cons
Yeah,
here?
that was a
Yeah,
great explanation. Yeah,
yeah,
they buy agencies for the price, whatever they are, they're listed,
yep,
they negotiate the price, right? They buy them, and they know that when you if you merge them or put them in one portfolio to sell them, the total revenue getting high enough past
yep,
3 million to 5 million, you get up past 10 and 20, you're like, it's crazy big. The
yep,
multiplier when you go to sell it is it goes much higher.
yep,
So where the average might be between 2.8 and 3 times multiplier of your EBITDA and cash flow, when you have that much revenue, it goes up to 3 to 4 to 5, 6, 7, 8. Like I've seen them go high.
yeah,
And so all they're doing is trying to merge and put together agencies to get the revenue high enough to sell it
yep,
in 2 or 3 years and pay out their investors. And
yeah,
so um, I don't want to paint the picture that they don't have good intentions, or that they don't want to run incredible outfits and have great agencies. They often do. I mean,
mm-hmm,
they obviously have a reason to make sure it doesn't fall apart. Um, so the plus in this is if you're part of one of these situations, it's kind of exciting to see everything get bigger. It's kind of a
yeah,
neat thing. So the pro of that is the money comes quicker. They have the money to spend. They usually are harder negotiators because this is the
mm,
first buy, right?
yeah,
Um, but so, but that's the pros. The cons here are that um, in these situations, I don't think these people understand yet, even yet. I don't think they understand what they're doing. There are a few out there. There's a few.
mhm,
It's rare. And when I say few, I'm like less than on this hand
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
of people.
It's a small handful.
Roll-ups happen in the HVAC world, the plumbing, electrical, lawn care, all kinds of, in restaurants. Roll-ups happen in all industries. It wasn't just till recent in the last 2 or 3 years that the roll-ups for agencies actually started, because I think it was like the last uncharted territory. Like it
Mm-hmm,
was the Wild West. And they thought, let's do it there too.
yep,
What they misunderstood, and this is going to show in the next few years, what they've misunderstood is that because we talked about it being a people business, this is a very fast moving people business. And if you don't really have your head wrapped around the team, the
yeah,
efficiency, the profitability, the revenue, the sales, if you don't have this really cooked up good, your investment will go south very, very fast. As soon as those owners exit or they don't have the full equity, so let's say they stay on,
right,
this situation becomes very dangerous for investing, because you can buy 10 agencies and 8 of them fold if you don't know what you're doing. And a lot of this money coming from it is coming from people from other industries
Yeah.
or accounting or investing, and that don't know what they're doing at the agency world. And so I think what you're going to see in the next few years as these 3-year marks start to hit and they think about selling it, whatever else, I think you're going to start seeing that they weren't able to get the lift and the increase that they thought they were because those
Yeah.
businesses that actually either stayed the same, lost profitability, or dropped in revenue. And
Yeah.
I think this is a real issue that we're going to see with roll-ups. So there are a few people who I think will succeed. They've hired and brought on the right people, and they are going to succeed at this. But the margin for error in this situation is really tight.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about in this, and I will try to really hone it in on just a couple of
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
One, this is now typical of um, the type of groups that are really going out and making acquisitions. One, the reason you do this is partnership opportunities, right? You get two agencies together, they don't do the same thing, they cross sell, they work together,
Mhm.
they're more valuable just overall, like valuation, right? They're more valuable together than they are apart. And
Mhm.
also, they can create growth opportunities for each other by cross selling. There is opportunity for that. Now, it doesn't happen a lot. It's like 5 to 10% of their customer bases might be looking across the aisle at something else.
Mhm.
So, okay, that's cool. I'll take 10% growth, Frank. Fuck yes, that's awesome. But downside is agencies get fired every 2 to 3 years by people like me all the time, right? So the reason these
You're
groups of people
cold.
want
You're
to,
so
I
cold.
know I am, right? It's just the nature of the cycle is you get through a process with somebody and you're like, I think somebody else, I think we're ready for more, better, whatever, right? It's the constant question of like, is there better out there? And so that's the cycle of this industry, unfortunately. And the good reason for you as an investor that you want to do this is one, you can strengthen and make your relationship with the customer stickier by owning something else that they want to buy into, right? So now, oh, I've got 3 or 4 different kinds of agencies and I put them together and I'm not necessarily rebranding them, but they're partners and now they're cross-selling with each other and they're figuring that out. I'm getting some growth and then also I'm making it a lot harder for the client to leave.
Right.
All good things, right?
Right.
Also, what's positive there for you as an investor is if someone was to leave this kind of client and look at or this kind of agency and be looking for something else, hey, wouldn't it be great if I already owned another agency that does that thing?
Uh,
And I'm catching them maybe on the other
I
side
didn't
of it.
think about that one. Yeah, that's a
Right.
good one.
It's
Yeah.
not likely, but it does happen.
No, it
And
can happen. It can happen.
yeah, it can happen. And
I
so,
Yeah.
I mean, those are the positives for why you do it. But I do think to your point, um, this market we're in right now is with aging out. A lot of people aging out of small businesses. Most small businesses are owned by people that are 70 plus years old.
Mhm.
Um, so there's a plethora of selling going on right now. And so it's a good opportunity to buy. But
Yeah,
at the
good
same
businesses.
time,
Yeah, good profitable businesses.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But
Yeah.
you're right to this point. Like, again, you got to have the right mindset to work within a marketing agency like this or and put these people together and try to create a portfolio around this
Mhm.
and also if you're a private equity have the right kind of operator within your organization that really understands this kind of industry
Mhm.
being the person that's responsible for making sure all of that works for you
Yeah.
and versus you the individual investor you the sort of private equity group of people
Yeah.
so anyway
Um,
okay
I got two thoughts on this, and then we'll jump to the last one. But
yeah
you made me think of something here that's important. Is a real pro here is that a lot of agency owners aren't really superior and great at the back end, the
yes
business side of things.
right
And so private equity firm coming in a lot of times, what's nice about that is they have, like, let's say, an accounting team already in place.
yeah
So
services
where I've seen a lot
yeah
of books, a lot of financials from agencies, and quite frankly, they're not the best. They've got their finances are all over the place.
yeah
And so some good, some great, most not. And so here you got somebody who really understands that can come in and all of a sudden get the book straightened out. you'd be surprised how efficient and profitable an agency could be when you have the back end stuff figured out really well.
Yeah.
And so they can have one team behind it and put three, four, five, up to 10 agencies and never have to hire another accounting person if they do
Yeah.
it right. So there's huge efficiencies, and it's very valuable to have that taken care of. So as a pro, I would say, that those infrastructure stuff is really kind of a great pro to have here.
Yeah.
The cross-selling you mentioned, fantastic. Having a real entrepreneur at the top that's guiding is really kind of a neat thing. They really
Mhm.
understand more about business usually than you do, and that's not a slam. That's just the facts.
Mhm.
And so it can be exciting times for the team when these are happening. So I like all those are great pros.
I have one other thing. I
They're
just thought
pro.
of. Yeah, it's
Okay.
um, industry specific kinds of portfolios, right? Like
Okay.
one of the cool parts could be, oh, this is an agency that specializes. Like I saw this recently. Spas. They focus on like aesthetics and spas and
Mhm.
self care in that way, and that's their entire agency business. And then there's another agency that's across the hall, and they do heating and cooling, and
Mhm.
very, very different models. But as a portfolio company, it's a huge advantage to you because you're like,
Yes,
they're
you're
really,
right.
really different kinds of industries. And the way they adjust to the economy is very different.
You're right.
And what a great way to strengthen my
Seasonality.
portfolio.
Yeah.
Yes, the seasonality is different,
Yeah.
right? You're like,
Right.
oh, I could really protect myself actually by doing this
Mhm.
and getting some service good. So a lot of
Yeah.
opportunity for that kind of group. Anyway,
The-
sorry.
yeah. And the con on this one, the con would be much longer buying cycle. They
Mm,
make decisions quickly. It's a longer buying cycle. They know what they're doing. They're not going to pay a penny more for this agency than what it is worth on paper. Period.
mm. Okay.
Their
Yeah, I can see it.
calculations are their calculations, and they are not going to pay a penny more than what they think it's worth. So
Okay.
whatever the valuation is, whatever you've done as a broker or an M&A company, um, you know, they don't care. They're going to do it
Do
through
their own.
their calculator, and
Yeah.
they're not going to pay a penny more. And that's it. And I think it's usually because they're not just looking at your agency, they're looking at 10, 20 agencies, and they're going to choose the ones that they think are going to be just like buying stock. They're going to buy low, sell high type of situation. So they're not going to overpay. They're not going to overpay for something. It is at the end of the day, it is business, and it is an acquisition that they need to get
Right.
their money back on.
Yep.
So yeah.
Cool. Yep.
Uh, the last one I thought might be like the most intriguing one because the temperature I put on the roll ups in private equity is that they're good buyers because they have the money. That's not in
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
They have the money.
They know
They
how to handle
they
capital.
they have a
Yeah.
history of buying.
Yeah.
You can't deny that, right?
Yeah.
That's
Right.
a big plus. So we love those guys. Thanks for showing up and make the offer.
Right.
So the current agency owner is the last one. The current
Yes.
agency owner is my favorite buyer. I put him as his temperature is he's a great buyer. And the reason why is because they already have all the formulas cooked.
Mm.
By the time he or she is qualified, has the money in the bank, they've been profitable, they know how to make money out of the agency world. The processes are good, the people are good, their systems are good, their clients are good. They put money in the bank and they can prove it enough to get a loan to buy and acquire another agency to attach onto their current business model or structure, or as a need their current clientele has, they can go and buy your agency to complete and solve problems, or if nothing else at the end of the day, to simply acquire business through acquisition versus having to go out, hunt it and kill it and find it and bring it into their agency.
Yeah. I think this is obviously a really, really great buyer. Just exactly what you just said. If they have their books organized enough and their cash flow is positive enough that someone will, SBA loan or however they're going to do it, that they can buy another agency, then they scratch the major check boxes off right there.
Mhm.
Um, or hurdles for them would be that. But for them, this is a great way to grow their business. They're doing two things. They're either adding services or or a totally separate, sort of partner organization that can help them grow. Like I talked about before, they're better together than they are apart.
Yeah.
they can cross sell, all those good things. Those are really, really positive things, or merge together and be one new agency and offer a wider breadth of services. To your point about like what clients looking for, I think it's a great way to do it. Um,
I've got
they
an
are great, but
agency. I got an agency right now that they are outsourcing all their SEO and PPC,
yeah,
right? All their paid search and all their SEO. They're outsourcing it. It's a
yeah,
small group, about 10. It's a small agency doing big numbers, by the way. And there's so what a great acquisition that would be to go buy an SEO and paid
find
search
another firm that's exactly the same size and add
to
that.
go do that, bring
Yeah,
them in. They're already giving this money out in a large way,
yeah,
several hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to these services.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And I'll tell you, having seen this in other industries as well as this industry, that process of contracting out, right? You're paying a premium to contractors because you're not paying benefits. That's the whole
mhm.
mechanism. You can be more flexible and you can scale faster by hiring contractors. However, it is margin positive for you to have those people in house. So why? That's the incentive to say, okay, well, if I got 10 points in here somewhere, I'm already covering part of the acquisition by just bringing it in house. And
Mhm.
so it does make the leap a little easier to understand why you would want to do it. So it's a no brainer. And you're right. They're of all of our buyer types, they're the best one because if they got that far, they're pretty prepared
Yeah.
from a perspective. And the hardest part, frankly, for them is the cultural aspect of putting two groups together. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. Like
But you already figured out culture and you know somewhat what culture means and how
you
to do it.
understand your business,
Yeah.
like and the services and the clients and what they need. It shouldn't be of all the things, frankly, with all these groups, that's going to be one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
And you have it the best of all the people as the agency owner buying another group because you're like, hey, look, I already get it, and we
Mhm.
have a great culture, and
Right.
I got something I can sell to this new group of people pretty
Yeah. And
easily.
the buyer and seller get along usually great in this scenario. They understand each other. They've been
100%. They
doing the
speak the
same
same
thing, the same
language.
role.
Yeah,
It's like they're brothers, like brothers or
yeah,
sisters. Like when they
yep,
talk, like they merge very very well together.
yep,
Um, I'm go back. I don't even know how many episodes ago we talked about acquisitions, and
yeah,
one of the things I like about this scenario is if I use the one I described, where you got a 10-person company, they're farming out SEO and PPC, but they go find an agency that's what they specialize in and do right that are already profitable with the clients they have. They're not sinking.
yeah,
They're already kicking out a couple of $100,000 at the
yeah,
bottom line, right?
yep,
On top of taking care of their customers
yep,
or more. You go buy them, and then you now can add your customers to their services and profitability. So that ups the ante there.
yep,
You have efficiency, so you can use their accounting or your accounting. So you drop off, that takes care of some extra costs. If they have a location, I'll see a lot of this happening. They're
mhm,
dropping their location, and all of a sudden, $50 to $100,000 worth of overhead is gone. That adds more profit to the bottom line.
yeah,
And you just assume that owner's salary as the agency owner. So you might have been making 150,000 as an agency owner, and now you're going to actually put his 100 to 150,000, and you're going to put
mhm,
it in your pocket as the agency owner, or you're going to
yeah,
use a portion of that to pay back the loan. Either way, you're
exactly.
making more profit on both sides of the fence with both the agencies, merging them or not. And you are now making more money, and you might have just increased your revenues high enough to get to that next bump where your multiplying ratio, if you went to sell it in the next few years, 2 or 3 years, instead of getting a 3 times multiplier, you might be now getting a 5 or 6 times multiplier.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there is zero problem in this scenario.
yeah,
Is there risk? There's always risk in business. And that's why I tell people, look, whether you buy that business or not, you got risk with your current business.
yeah,
You
yeah,
want to talk about risk? Okay, let's go do some shots. We'll
yeah,
we'll talk about risk. I mean,
yeah.
you do it every
Of
day. What's the big
of
deal?
of
You know?
all the buyer types, you've got the least because you
Yes.
know the most about
Yep.
what you're already doing, and the positives for you are the most. And you're right about all those things. I really especially like the point about you're buying their profit, which means you either pay off whatever money you borrowed potentially to make the acquisition. You're either paying that off faster or you're personally making more money. Those are both wins.
Mhm.
So pick one, frankly, right? And then because either to your point, and like I said this before, you're more valuable together than you would be apart. which
Hmm.
means at some point down the road, you're like, I want to get out of this business. I've done everything I can here. You are more valuable, your multiplier. And along the way, you either paid your debt down and therefore more of the end result is yours, or you paid yourself more upfront and you've been making more money along the way because your total revenue just went up and your net margin may have stayed the same, but you raised revenue.
Yeah.
People do this all the time. This is how companies get more valuable in the stock market. Oh, all of a sudden they made a giant acquisition of some privately held company. All that revenue comes out in. Oh, I look now. I'm not $1 billion company. I'm a $2 billion company, and
Mm.
all of a sudden my share value just went through the roof.
Yeah.
No shit. You're more valuable because you make more money.
Yeah. The
So
first time this is explained to an agency owner, it kind of like just falls on deaf ears. The
yeah.
second time they hear it, they're like, yeah, but and then the time they hear it 3 or 4 or 5 times, and what starts to finally compute in their head is this. What they start to figure out is that me trying to do this one off, one customer at a time, the way I'm doing it now, selling them, bringing in one
So
customer at
hard.
a time, losing one here or there, like
Yeah.
is just a turtle of a way of growing and scaling a business.
Yes.
It's not even scaling; it's hardly growing. And I think that at some point when they start getting exposed to these types of things, light bulbs finally go off, and they go, I don't want to do it this way anymore. I
Yeah.
want to do it faster because I'm worth more, and it's usually true. They work hard. The agency owners are not they're not lazy. They work hard. They
Can't
put in
be.
hours. They're good people. They usually have a great personality, and they deserve more, and they get tired of not getting more out of what they put into it. They put in a lot of heart and passion into it. They care about people, and so therefore acquisition can be one of the ways they finally start to get paid for all that they did. So better done sooner than later
Yeah.
is the best scenario.
Yeah, what I like about this group a lot, and this will be my last thought, I think, is as you mature, as you're an agency owner and you mature as an owner, acquiring another business, especially if it fulfills your portfolio of services, is natural. And I 100% think that's how you should do it. But once you've done that once and you kind of understand it and you start to see your gaps, right? It makes a lot of sense to fill those gaps with comparable companies of expertise with client bases and revenue, right? You all of a sudden now you've got a little portfolio. The way I look at this is once you've done it once and you're starting to look at that third business, you really need to start thinking like that equity portfolio company because you are not going to manage three agencies. You're going to hire operators to do well in all of those businesses, and you're going to incentivize them to work together, right? So that you can get a little higher up on the food chain and think about how to serve customers holistically. And
Mhm.
that's what you then bring to the table. That's the strategy of you. So that you
Mhm.
can go into bigger organizations and say to a CMO and a CEO, we can serve all of your needs and not just this one need. And your client base completely changes, and your way of selling completely changes, and your value to the organization grows and develops.
Yeah,
And
greatly
to
improves.
me, I think to me, it's like that's how I want to evolve in my career as an owner because I'm not ready to sell, but I don't want to be in the weeds every day too. I want to think big picture and I want to get inspired by this big company over here who's looking for a good partner. And I want to be that. I don't want to just be a service business. And so I think that's where the real opportunity here is if you're a buyer is you start to become Ryan's best friend and you're like, go find me a great SEO business. Go find me a great video business.
Hmm.
And you start to get very specific about knowing what your gap is and filling it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there you have it. The
Yeah.
six buyer persona profiles of agency
You
buyers.
like persona or you like persona?
Persona.
Really?
It sounds like a sauna, and that sounds more comforting to me.
Oh yes. Let's not get into the GIF argument today.
Yeah, yeah. You're picturing me in a towel, aren't you?
Yeah. No, God no.
Come on, I know you
As
are.
somebody who
All right.
has a sauna in the house, my wife bought a sauna a couple of years ago, and let me just tell you, I try not to picture anyone in a towel, especially me. I know not no one wants to see that. It's
Price, I'm
fine.
picturing your persona in the sauna right now.
I'm very sweaty.
Okay, now I just erased it. It's gone.
Yep. There you go.
All right.
Delete.
Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Subscribe, get all the episodes, and please like it, share it, and let your agency owner friends know we're here. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
You guys soon.